And we'll start here in the UK, where a shortage of lorry drivers is causing major disruption to parts of some British supply chains. Sectors from food to fuel have been impacted already. Fears over tanker driver shortages led to panic buying, leaving many of the country's petrol pumps dry. Britain has now put the army on standby to help with the ongoing fuel crisis. Announcing further measures to try and help ease supply chain pressures, the Department for Business says in a statement, a limited number of military tanker drivers will be put on a state of readiness and deployed if necessary to further stabilise the fuel supply chain. The military drivers would receive specialised training before deploying if the crisis doesn't ease in the coming days. Panic buying deepened a supply chain crisis triggered by a shortage of truckers. And now up to 90% of British fuel stations are running dry across some major English cities. Medical bodies have already said that some healthcare staff have struggled to get to work, and some schools have warned that online teaching might need to resume if teachers can't get to their classrooms. It's prompted calls for the government to use emergency powers to give priority access to healthcare and other essential workers. Some motorists have been queuing for hours to fill their vehicles at petrol stations that are still selling fuel, albeit often rationed. At other stations, pumps are either closed or have signs saying that fuel is not available.
The last 24 hours has been 3 hours yesterday of driving around with limited fuel trying to find some. I eventually did at the 9th attempt, but I had to queue for nearly an hour and a half to get some, which means that I'm okay for the next day or so. But then it's going to be completely out of my hands. If I can't get anything, then the cab's going to be parked up. People that need fuel need fuel. There's a lot of people out there that don't need fuel and are taking it, and that's causing a knock-on effect to the problem. But an essential users list is what's needed so that the garages can prioritise, and we definitely need to be on that so that we can continue to do our job.
And the government continues to urge people who don't need fuel not to go and try and buy fuel. Britain's departure from the European Union in January saw many foreign truckers leave the country. The shortage has led to supermarket shelves empty of some products at times, and it's raised fears about deliveries of food and toys for Christmas. Critics have blamed the UK government's inaction on tackling shortages of lorry drivers, which have been known about for some time. Brexit has seen the UK ending the free movement of people in Europe as it left the European Union, but it's now partly banking on a short-term visa waiver to plug that gap in drivers. These are being offered to thousands of foreign truckers to try and help plug the shortfall. Up to 10,500 temporary work visas will be issued to lorry drivers and poultry workers from next month to the end of the year. The opposition Labour Party says this is too little, too late to avert food shortages. And for more, we can cross now to WION's London Bureau Chief Mandy Clark. And Mandy, we've just had an update, haven't we, from the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps, who's saying there are signs of stabilisation in demand?
Yes, he certainly has. I'm actually at a petrol station that does have fuel, but we do see people with high-vis vests, marshals, controlling the queue because there has been outbreaks of fights all over the country over petrol. So it seems that there is stabilization, but there is still a lot of panic and fear among motorists. And the worry is those critical units like ambulance drivers, medical staff, and of course cabbies just can't get access to it.
And Mandy, the government and the industry as well seem to be hoping that over the next 24 hours or so, as people's cars are filled up and potentially not even being used if they don't need that fuel, that the demand will ease and that this particular bottleneck will go away. But what about the longer term? How does the government plan to address the issue in the months ahead?
That's where we're seeing a series of measures, and they don't believe that HGV driver's crisis, that's a heavy goods vehicle, that's a very specific license from your regular license. That problem won't go away until at least Christmas, some analysts are predicting. So there might be an easing of the petrol crisis because a car can only carry so much fuel, and the panic buying looks like it should be subsiding within the week. But yes, the bigger issue about getting transportation of goods is likely to continue. As you pointed out, there is measures to entice drivers back into from the EU back into Britain with some temporary visas. There is measures to start moving forward the H3B licenses. The DVLA, that's the driving authority here, has said that they had 54,000 licenses that are in processing. So there's a push to get them processed. But really, in all likelihood, there will be only at the start, at the end of October. So still many, many weeks to go with likely fuel shortages and other shortages expected.
Mandy, thank you.